Hey guys, welcome back to Outcast Fiction, a realm where we discuss, dissect, and thoroughly enjoy good stories and art, no matter the medium or the amount of grit. Today I have with me a good friend of mine, a great poet, aspiring songwriter, Francis Druffner.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you, Francis, what got you into poetry?
Yeah, so my junior year of high school, actually kind of on a sad note, one of my classmates passed away and I really didn't know how to deal with that. So I started writing, I called it like word dumping or blurbing. And I would just basically get these pages of thoughts that really didn't make any sense. But as I worked through them, I tried to piece together almost like a story. And that slowly turned into me realizing that I think pictographically with like images, and as you know, poetry is very based on imagery. And so I started transitioning those images and those thoughts into rhyme scheme or some kind of formulaic order. And then I started reading poetry. I wrote my first poem for my classmate who passed away. It's called An Unknown Burden. And it's basically about how we all deal with mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And God is always there for us. And if we don't understand that, then we can always turn to things like writing or art to actually deepen our faith. And I think that's why writing is such a huge advantage for people, is we are able to see parts of ourselves. It's almost like a prayer, like the Psalms.
Literally.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of poetry myself. I need to write it more, but I like to read different poems, especially for different seasons. Like when winter rolls around, I typically break out Walking Through the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost.
That's a great one.
Stuff like that. And around Halloween, I read a lot of Poe and stuff like that. But in the light of poetry, on this episode, we wanted to talk about the beautiful 1989 film, The Dead Poets Society, starring Robin Williams. And obviously, as the name suggests, it has a lot to do with poetry. And Francis and I both really love this movie. So what would you say is like one of the top themes of this movie for you?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little earlier before we started, but not conforming to society or independent thought, I guess, would be a main theme in my opinion. How, as you see, John Keating pushes the boys that he's teaching to think independently and like be outside the box, whether that's standing on your desk or going out into a cave and having a meeting for fun, stuff like that. It's just not normal. But it gets them out of their comfort zone, and then they think in different ways outside of the education system. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
what about
awesome. Similar to yours, and just really, not conforming and not really caring what others think about you, and realizing that others' fleeting thoughts are arbitrary compared to like the broader like mission of your life and what really is important to you. I just thought that film depicted that in such a beautiful way. And obviously, like in some aspects, like it's even deeper. It's like they're basically being forced into these professions by their parents. And they're like, my parents are going to hate me. They might never talk to me again. They might disown me. But like, I just can't I can't live that life. I have to be able to like live creatively. I have to be human at the end of the day. And there's that beautiful quote near the beginning of the film, I believe, from John Keating, played by Robin Williams, where he says, he's like, we don't read and write poetry because it's cute, not because it's like nice little rhyming things. I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, it's because we're members of the human race. And he's like, engineering, medicine, law, it's all noble pursuits, and they're necessary to sustain life, but what are we living for? If we don't have anything besides those, there's no reason to live.
That's so true. I also think like a huge part of the human experience is suffering. And if you are not able to process your suffering in a less tangible way, I would say, because we have our feelings, we have our emotions, but we're able to map out our thoughts and our experiences through writing and make it into something beautiful. So like writing and poetry can bring suffering and put it onto a canvas. You're able to paint, as people say it, paint with your pain, or you can paint with your happiness or your sadness, whatever it is, and able to see like the full picture without being overly overwhelmed about what you're going through. Or if you need to simply process what you're going through, it's like a filter. And I think that's why this movie is so amazing, because he pushes the boys to think beyond their everyday thoughts and really analyze whether it's like a blanket or a cup, and like really analyze what a blanket, it sounds stupid, it sounds dumb, but it's like if you're really able to process what a blanket or a cup is, you're probably going to be able to process something more extraordinary or complex.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that, I mean, goes along with just seeing the beauty in everyday things, in our routines and everything that people just get lost in and see. I feel like I see a lot of people, maybe this is a bit of a side note, but I see a lot of people in my life who their everyday routines have become more of a burden for them than, or at least they treat them as such, than like just living joyfully every day and finding the beauty and happiness that God puts in our lives. All we have to do is just open our eyes to.
Yeah. I just saw one of my favorite basketball players, Damian Lillard, was posting on Instagram, and his caption was like, there's beauty in the mundane, or like basically saying your everyday life, your routine, it's him just doing like a dribbling drill, but he's basically saying like your everyday ordinary thing that you're doing, if you do it at such a high level, you will be able to eventually be great at that thing. And so like there's beauty in the mundane. Don't quote me on that. That's not the exact caption, but it's like, you know, the beauty in that simple.
That is so true though. Yeah. It's funny because I'm a total coffee addict, and like almost a lot of days, the best part of my day is like when I just go downstairs, I'm like, coffee first thing. And it's just like amazing. I just see the sun rising outside of my house. And it's just like,
for sure.
It's such a little thing, and it sounds so stupid, but it's just a little thing that God puts in my life where it's like, this
wakes you up in the morning.
I should write a poem about that.
You should.
I'm going to. Yeah.
So back to Dead Poets Society, the idea or concept of carpe diem, the saying, seize the day. I wanted to ask you about that because you were talking about how when you wake up in the morning, that cup of coffee is like what you're excited for.
Yeah.
Like the small mundane thing, but that's your way of seizing the day. So I just want to get your perspective on, in the movie, the idea of how Robin Williams like encapsulates carpe diem or what you thought of it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because the way I took that from the film was like, if I have an idea of something I want to do, for example, starting this podcast, it's like, and I have time to do it, like the only thing holding me back from that is Instagram Reels or something. It's just like you only live once, like literally just seize the day. Do what you can with the time and resources you have. Sure. Just like enjoy life. And you can see how he really, that one phrase just plants this seed of just, I don't know, ambition in the boys. And they're like, we're going to start our own Dead Poets Society. Yeah. We're going to do this. The one kid goes to the party and just like, I mean, he makes out with the girl. He eventually gets a date with her, although it takes him a while. But he's just he's all of a sudden unafraid to break the school rules. which are just very strict and overbearing on them, and
Yeah.
just go live a little in the real world. The kids have they build the radio and they're listening to rock and roll,
Yeah.
just feeling so free.
Yeah.
And it just, if he hadn't said that, these kids probably would have just grown up to be more depressed adults in the professional world who have lost sight of what it really means to carpe diem.
I think it's also about just being a child again. Like remembering what you were like as a kid. It made me feel like I was in Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn when I was watching the movie. Just the aspect of an adult or a figure that you look up to, allowing you to be yourself and encouraging you to like go out into nature or see the beauty in nature, thinking outside of quite literally the box or the classroom.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about storytelling is like you are literally going into oftentimes this imaginative world of ideas. And yes, you can be too in your head and overthink, but also at the same time, he's encouraging them to go out into the world and be yourself and not just be so caught up in overthinking and the overthinking of school and academia. So, which I really loved. I thought my teachers in high school were really good at that. Obviously, there's always the bad teachers in high school. But the good ones I had were so much. I saw so many similar concepts and approaches that they had in their lives. My teachers in high school, they were so similar to John Keating or Robin Williams. And it's also, his role is so fitting for him. Like he seems like he's very similar to his character in terms of how he approaches life and joy and being yourself. So I think they casted this movie perfectly. That's the other thing.
No, Robin Williams just especially that, and like we were talking about that and his role in that, and then as the therapist in Good Will Hunting, it's just like God put him on this earth for those roles.
So true.
Absolutely beautiful. And that kind of reminded me, kind of part of that, like carpe diem, and as you were talking about, I feel like a big thing that holds people back is fear, like fear of failure, fear of like, if this goes wrong, like I'll just look like, an absolute failure. And that's a big reason why I think fear is kind of the opposite of love, which, I mean, it sounds very just kind of basic, but it's like just one example, like the kid who falls in love with the girl because he finally, John Keating helped them all face their fears, whether it just be of their just irrational fear of their overbearing superiors at Hilton Academy. But I just thought that was interesting.
Oh, that's super. I was gonna say a similar scene. I think it's Todd when he's in class and they're kind of just freestyling poetry. He's like, "What do you guys have? Like, have you written anything?" And Todd's like, "Oh, not anything good," or he's like something like, "Not really. Like, I don't really have anything." And then he freestyles a poem, and everybody kind of goes quiet, and they're like, "Wow, like that was actually really good." I think it was like about like a blanket or something.
Oh yeah.
That was such a cool scene because it literally showed how instilling confidence into somebody of the younger generation who has the capacity to do great things learns that they have the capacity to do great things in that moment. It's like, wow, like, oh, maybe I can write poetry. That's the thing is like, I'm still not that great at writing poetry, but like I just started started to do it over and over and over again, like reps in basketball or working out or golf or guitar. Like the more you do it, the better you're going to be at it. But also some people do have a certain capacity to do that thing. Like some people are just naturally gifted to do that thing. But I would say like, I honestly think like, if you put your mind to it, you can be a decent poet or at least love poetry. Like, you don't even have to be that good at it. It's like, if you love it, just keep doing it. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
So.
And there's also kind of a bit of a cultural, I feel like a little bit of a cultural fear that they kind of show in Dead Poets Society as well, where it's like, oh, am I just going to appear stupid? Like, is this just kind of a girly thing to do? Like, and once guys kind of get over that and realize, like, men have been writing and reading poetry. Like, poetry's been an elemental part of society for like all of history.
Before Jesus.
Exactly. That's why like the term warrior poet is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
That film really helped me realize that, of like, okay, like this is a natural human thing. Like, this is beautiful. Like, there should be no shame in like becoming a poet as a man.
Especially if you read the Iliad or the Odyssey. I know the Odyssey, the movie, is coming out, which is, I'm very excited for that.
That's gonna be epic.
Christopher Nolan, I think, will do a good job with it. But not to get too off track, I think that is a very good representation of some really complex storytelling that is a poem, technically, the Iliad and the Odyssey, but is able to turn something that's a journey through love and suffering and hardship and warfare into something that makes sense. And I think similar to that, Dead Poets Society in itself is sort of a poem, in terms of its structure, in terms of the problem is at the beginning, like, there's a problem at the beginning that's these boys are lost. A lot of them feel kind of belittled by their parents. We'll talk about that obviously later towards the end of the film. And then a teacher comes in and changes that. And then they go against the grain, and these boys feel like they can finally be themselves and do things that make them feel alive. And that's kind of the thesis of this film is, how can somebody be themselves and see that through writing or poetry or reading stories. And it brings people together. Like, art brings people together. Films bring people together. The poetry in the movie brings these boys together as a group, even when some of them didn't like each other.
Yeah, it builds community.
Yeah. And so, that's what I love so much about this film is it's real. That's what I'm trying to say. It's raw. It's real. It's not. It's nothing that's really made up.
Definitely.
Another point kind of related to that is Neil's death, which is like kind of a concluding factor in a sad way to the film. I'm trying to remember where it is in terms of timeline.
It's tragic.
But I'm pretty sure it's pretty later in the film. And I think that really is applicable to what I was talking about earlier with belittlement and being yourself. If you're not able to stand up for what you believe, he feels belittled by his father, Neil does, and he feels like he's not enough. And his dad asks him, like, while they're in the office, like, he says something like, what do you want to say to me? Or like, what's the problem? And then he says like some filler word like, or something like that. And then he goes quiet. And then his dad's like, oh, that's what I thought. Like, you don't want to stand up to me. And I feel like that was a moment where everything he had learned from Keating or Robin Williams could have been used to stand up for himself, because that's what Keating was teaching them, to be themselves and stand up for themselves. And then that's the tragedy of most stories or of life, is like you can either keep fighting or you can conform. And in this case, conformity was death. Yeah. Like his conformity to his negative thinking or his depression, or his father thinking he was worth less than he was, led to him taking his own life. So that was hard. That was definitely like that had me tearing up for sure. But because like his just the anger and like
shaming of his father is just becomes insurmountable for him.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's a very harsh turn on a film like that. Like, I didn't really see it coming. And then again, the film isn't meant to be idealistic. So
It's true.
it doesn't entirely surprise me that there was a harsh turn in the film like that. But yeah, I've heard some people say though that some people have criticized it to me, saying it's like completely. They're like, oh, it was just nihilistic. Like at the end, like John Keating's forced to leave the school. Like they're left with the teacher who's like, whichever old one it was, who was just like the worst.
Yeah.
And I guess I would personally counter that by saying that like that ending scene, like the "Oh Captain, my Captain" scene, I think he realizes, he's like, it's almost like a "my work is done here" thing. He's like, even though I have to leave and things were horrible, like he had instilled something in these boys that couldn't be like beat out of them by the school.
That's super true.
And he realized like they've built community. They have their own like Dead Poets Society. This is going to continue.
Yeah.
Like they're going to pass this on to future generations in the school. And he's like, I think like how many kids like he saved from having having like a almost meaningless life later in life.
For sure.
Yeah.
And realizing they're like the captains of their own ship. Like they can now, go out into the sea or the world and like be themselves and stand up for what they believe, even when somebody's saying like, stick to the textbook. Like don't rip out the pages. Like
just apply a formula, smack a formula on everything.
Exactly. And that's just not how it works. That's the other thing, is like this movie is very much about individualism and how like if you're not able to have an understanding of yourself, which you can do through poetry or writing, you're gonna have a hard time understanding other people, but you're also gonna have a hard time living with yourself and living with your suffering. And they are able to live with their own suffering and have confidence when Keating leaves because of what he left with them. So no, that's amazing. That scene is just always like, just lives in my head rent free. So true.
He's like, sit down, all of you. Just completely crashing out. I also wondered if you had any more thoughts on the page ripping scene where he like has him read through the formula and he's like, tear it out, stop. He's like how do you think that relates to poetry, of it not just being like formulaic vocabulary that's just mathematically computed and has no heart to it?
I had an argument with Dr. Schnepp, who we both had for poetry. And I was like, yeah, you can have iambic pentameter, like you can put things in order. And the order of things does matter. Like the pentameter does matter, the rhyme scheme does matter, because it resembles something, it symbolizes something, which is very true. But there is something beautiful about you just writing something on a piece of paper that took you 5 minutes or 2 hours in that present moment about something that you care about, and not worrying too much about the form. And it's just literally how you're thinking and what you're thinking, and it's not overthinking, is what I'm trying to say. The best way, a lot of artists do this with music. If you listen to Juice WRLD or J. Cole, they're just mumbling garbage that sounds good. And then within like a couple minutes, that garbage turns into words. And then in a couple hours, those words turn into rhyme schemes and melodies and choruses. So it's like but that mumbling meant something. And I think in a similar way, that mumbling is the blurb that you just wrote on, a tree or a family member passing away. So it's like, I personally started out with no like tempo, no rhythm to anything, no rhyme scheme. And slowly I like transgressed over time. I was like, oh, I can use these tools to basically show what this rhyme means, why I put it here, why I repeated this multiple times to show that it matters. And then I was like, wow, I can make a better poem, but I still love the content that I had from just spitting a bunch of thoughts on a piece of paper.
Yeah, an interesting analogy actually just jumped out to me about that. It's almost like, say you can buy a bunch of different types of like plots of land. You could buy like a corporate lot, you could buy like a farm, you could buy like a patch of forest, but like being overly technical about poetry like that teacher did is almost like putting an office complex on every part of that land.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Versus it's like you just drop it in the woods, drop it on a farm. Versus it's like what's appropriate for this poem is like it maybe breaks the rules in this way. We need a cabin in these woods.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's building a cabin on a grass lot with no woods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's maybe where that person is, and that's where, you know, they want to be, but they're not a person who wants a modern house in a grass lot. They want a log cabin. And so like
that's really true.
Like the log cabin here is, you know, that person's likings, characteristics, resources. And with poetry, it's like poetry is a reflection of what that person's gone through and their life experience, but also what that person has learned. And different people know how to build different things, and they prefer different locations. And that location could be, you know, a location in a poem or the location that they are currently. So I don't know. I apologize if that analogy got a little mixed up, but I think that's a good analogy because it shows how we all have all of our own likings and preferred things, and our wills are beautiful in their own way, and it's not. Yeah. It's subjective. Like that's the thing about poetry is like it's totally subjective. Like there's objective structure that is good and styles that maybe work better than others, but like in terms of what you like to write about is totally subjective.
Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in on our episode on poetry and the Dead Poet Society. Wherever you are watching from, give us a follow, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Like and subscribe if you would. That would help a lot. And remember, carpe diem.
Seize the day.